So the Fitco's it's actually been here for about 8 years, but I took it over just under 2 years ago with the aim really to help people build strength, reduce pain and improve their quality of life. That's really sort of, I guess, the stamp I've tried to put on it. I think one of the things I've noticed within sort of just, working with sort of people for the last 20 years is a lot of people come and they have sort of little niggles in their knees, their back, their shoulders, and 9 times out of 10 it's probably because they're not very strong enough. So that's one of the things that we've tried to do is to, when people come in, is to help them sort of reduce those sort of niggles that they would have, and help strengthen the weak areas, and subsequently, it helps improve their quality of life. We have, I would say, probably 80% females. I think one of the things that, being in the gym space for the last 20 years is, like you said, there's a bit of a stereotype that, it's guys, lifting sort of heavy weights. And I think because we've sort of made it's like a private space, there's no mirrors. You can only come in here if you're working with a trainer or you're in a small group. People come in here, obviously they pay that a little bit more. They get sort of free coffee. There's sort of, respectable music on there. So I think people feel welcome to come into this space knowing that it's not going to be crowded. They're going to be able to access the equipment. They've got attention to detail from their coach. So I think generally, my experience, guys generally think that they know more than they do in the gym context. And women probably don't have that confidence. They think they can't do as much as they actually can. So I think when they come into this space, quite quickly they realise that, oh wow, I can actually do this. And having a coach alongside them, whether it be a small group or one-to-one type stuff, just helps them, and it's really helped us to sort of grow our community and help people get stronger, reduce their pain and improve their quality of life. I've recently turned 40, so for me this is, in many ways, it's all I've known. I remember watching World's Strongest Man when I was like 4 years old, and I remember 4 or 5, taking my top off and going, oh, I want to be a strong man. So as cheesy as that sounds, I think that sort of, when I left school, I sort of just wanted to sort of work in the gym environment. So I started my PT qualification when I was 18. Did that for a number of years, then transitioned into actually like a teaching environment. So I used to work for a college in London. That's where I'm originally from, and used to teach what we call NEET young people. So kids not in education, employment or training. So that's 16 to 24 year old, and I actually used to teach the fitness qualification for a number of years. Then when my family and I moved to Bedford, I transitioned back into sort of PT. I've always done that, but transitioned back into working in a private space, one-to-one stuff, with the hope and dream that at some point I'll be able to sort of have my own premises. And yeah, the opportunity opened up a couple of years ago. Yeah, here we are. Social media, I think there's pros and cons to it, which has massively impacted every sort of sphere of the sort of social settings we find ourselves in. But I think when it comes to the fitness space, I think some of the sort of the pros to it are it's made it accessible to everyone. I think with YouTube and stuff, you can quite easily access 10-minute workouts. You see, especially sort of for females, you see, females lifting heavy weights, and there's not this thing, I'm going to get bulky and I'm going to sort of, look masculine or whatever it is. Whereas before, I think people sort of from my generation, if I've worked with people sort of in their sort of 30s and 40s, like, oh, I don't want to lift weights, I don't want to get big. But then they realise, 6 months in, oh, I'm just stronger, I'm more athletic. So I think that has definitely helped it. But then on the flip side, I think the same thing I said is a good thing is also a bad thing. Everybody is putting content out, and there's no sort of, I guess we would say, sort of regulating body that can govern, is this good stuff, is it bad stuff? And I think, I always say, like, sex sells, right? And if you've got people who are, very minimal clothing, whether it's male or female, looking quite lean, athletic, straight away people take that, oh, they must be an authority within the industry. Whereas 9 times out of 10, they're probably not. They've just got very good people who are marketing them and trying to sell them. We want to ask as many questions as possible. We want to make sure that people are trying to find as much information from people as possible in order that we can actually best help them. And I think for me, what I always try and do, especially when I work one-to-one with someone, is keep things really, really simple. So we want to make sure that, if you say that you've got, I don't know, an hour a week to work out, well, if we can say to that person, okay, let's make sure that we are giving you something that you're able to do that's sustainable moving forward. So if you've only got an hour, okay, well let's start with maybe half an hour, and let's be consistent at that. Let's try and do that for a month, even though you probably could do more. Let's do that for a month, build some consistency, get some momentum, and then maybe go to an hour. Or if you've got 2 20-minute windows, let's start with that. So I always say to people, what's the worst week you could have? What could you do in that worst week? And then from there, let's try and build some consistency, rather than say 5 times a week, let's go. 9 times out of 10, that people don't really normally do that. So we try and keep it super simple. And I'll always people rather leave here feeling that they could do more, and then they come back that they can actually do more, rather than feeling completely exhausted and then leave here feeling, oh, I feel dead. So I think, if we can encourage people to hit 70, 80% effort levels consistently 2 to 3 times a week, consistency is king, and it will compound it over time. You'll see results from that.